Yeah, cool. I'll go ahead and go on mute then. Yeah, we'll kick it off.
Hello and welcome to our second presentation of Small Charity IT Day 2021 in partnership with the FSI. We want to thank them for giving us the opportunity to set up today. They're a fantastic organisation who we've worked with now for over 5 years. They do brilliant events, and obviously these online events are a bit different to their normal style, but it's fantastic to be partnered with them and have them the opportunity to present our event today. So thank you for attending. Hopefully you've attended my colleague Pavan's webinar this morning and found that insightful and very good. He will be following up with people with any Q&As that are missed out and anyone who wants to set up a consultation. Today, I am your host, Adam Graham. I am the Operations Director at Click NFP, so Click IT for non-profits. And I'll be hosting along with my colleague, Kyle Torres from Sophos. He will be doing a short presentation after mine. We have other guest speakers today as well, along with my colleagues Michael Horton and Emily Barnicoat. We have David Robertson, also his digital transformation specialist. And if you did miss Pav's presentation this morning, that will be available to rewatch on our YouTube account, which we'll be posting on our website later today. So the schedule today, as I say, is Pavan Sawney was earlier today. I'm dealing with the cybersecurity landscape. And there's Making Your Mark online at 1:30 with Emily. 3 o'clock will be Michael Horton and David Robertson with Working as a Team in the Virtual World, and the prize draw at 4 o'clock for the 50-inch TV. So who are we? We are Click IT for Charities. We were formerly Premier Charity Solutions. We deal solely with non-profits in the IT sector. That's managed IT services, cloud services, cybersecurity, obviously, and website design. We've been going for, as a business, 19 years, into our 20th year next year, very exciting. And we recently rebranded this year to show a bit more about who we are, a bit more up-to-date branding to go with who we are and what we've done. Premier Charity Solutions was a unique brand, but we didn't feel it really was modern enough and represented us well. So we've rebranded, nothing else has changed, which is good. But we are solely for the third sector. And we provide free consultancy to non-profits in terms of IT. We do, for all FSI members, we offer free best practice analysis and audits of their IT systems. We've got experience in the third sector. We have over 250 clients on a sort of strategy basis, and also deal with over 500 non-profits on a regular basis as well. We can provide funding assistance, details of donation schemes, help with discounts and hardware, software, all of those kind of things. So definitely, if you've got any questions at all, get in contact with us, book a consultation after this, and we can definitely signpost you in the right way or help you directly ourselves. At the end of today's session, there will be a Q&A. So you should be able to see the Q&A in the top right. You can post a question now, and then we'll go through that and be able to hopefully answer as many as we can at the end of the session. If not, we'll come back to you afterwards. So how has the cybersecurity landscape changed for charities over the last year? It's obviously been a testing time for everyone, and not least charities. It's been very, very strange for everyone, but obviously a lot of people, especially in terms of IT and their setups, have had to change a lot. Let's look at some of the stats and go into the introduction. Obviously a lot of people working from home, and they are continuing to do that, and they will continue to do that, I imagine, over the next few years. I think flexible working and remote working is going to be something that's here to stay. As we've all seen, I doubt many people are full-time back to the offices. A lot of people will be doing part-time or home working as well as in the office, which is great because it gives people that flexibility to work-life balance, and also gives you the opportunity to work with people further afield as well. So it's great opportunities out there now, but obviously that comes with the obvious issues around cybersecurity. So if we have a look at some of these stats, in the past year, 1/4 of charities have been affected by cyber attacks. Since the pandemic began, cyber attacks are up 400%. Just 27% of charities cover cybersecurity in their business continuity plan, and nearly 80% of breaches have involved phishing attacks and social engineering. And that's really what I'm going to try and speak about today, is that kind of the user targeted attacks, the attacks that are based on your users, your staff, and how they're using your system, and how we can try and avoid those scenarios, because obviously you're not all around each other every day, you're not in the office, you're not protected by the bubble of your office network infrastructure anymore. You're dealing with people and your staff all over the country, all over the world potentially, working at different times, flexible hours, flexible working, and their devices, all that kind of stuff. So how can we protect all of those? So one of the real, obviously, key points with cybersecurity, and people will go on and on about this, especially in our industry, passwords. We all talk about passwords and password complexity. I imagine you all got, hundreds of passwords now, or at least you should have. Hopefully you're not using a variety of 3 or 4 different passwords that you change to go onto different sites. Really that password security is absolutely key for everything you do. If your password is insecure in any way, and you'll be surprised, there are websites out there where you can test the strength of your password, and you put your password in and they'll say, I can hack this in 4 minutes, or I can hack this in 12 minutes. It's really, really important that we look at password complexity. But how can we manage password complexity when we've got so many different websites that we use, so many different platforms that we work on, and so many different places where we have to input these passwords and we have to try and remember them? So one of the things that we do as an organization, and we recommend to all of our clients and anyone who uses our business, is to use password management software. So password management software is designed to secure your passwords by storing all of your usernames and passwords under one hat. So it's one application, one web browser extension, and one website that stores all of your passwords. And it remembers them for you, meaning that you can have more complex and an unlimited variety of passwords. So you don't have to remember your passwords at all anymore. You'll just have the one password. Again, we will recommend with multi-factor authentication that I'll get onto, to connect to the password management software. That's set up on your Google Chrome, potentially on your mobile phone, and it will store all of your passwords for you. We use a variety of different software in-house. We actually use LastPass, but actually just speaking to Jonathan Chevalier from Charity Digital, we didn't realize they recommend Okta, which offers non-profits 50 free licenses for their password management software. So that's definitely something to look at as well. And it's really, really important. This software means that you can have a unique and ultra complex password, sort of 16 to 20 characters of something completely random. That is really, really difficult. If you put it into a password testing software, they'll say it's hopefully millions of years to crack these passwords, and that's what we want. We want these passwords that are uncrackable. That's exactly what you need to do, and it will suggest passwords for you. So again, when you're setting up a new account with a new system, it will suggest a new, unique, complex password. And it's something that you then, again, you never have to remember that password. As long as you've got access to your password management software, those passwords can just be left in the ether. You don't have to worry about looking after them and remember them, which is, a pain for all of us. But how can we keep that secure? And that's what we're going to go on to next. Multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication adds an extra layer of security. So, same as you use for your banking apps, hopefully for your email accounts, for any sort of line of business software, any critical software, anything that may have GDPR sensitive data inside it, we need to be using this multi-factor authentication. Nearly every website uses it now and has the option to use it, and everywhere you can use it, you should be having it. What is multi-factor authentication? So this means that any website you use or any service you use, you'll have your username and your password, and then you will have your code, which goes to an application on your phone or an SMS, something like that, or even a hardware token. Obviously, sometimes you get those hardware tokens from your bank where they can provide you with that code. That gives that extra layer that it means that it has to be produced by you. It means that if somebody else tries to access or breaks your password, that you are then prompted for that code. And again, you can then ask yourself, oh, why have I been prompted for that code? Okay, someone must have tried to break into my software. Obviously, you don't let them in, and then you can reset your password. And obviously, if you're using password management software, it is really, really important that you use multi-factor authentication. I can't stress enough how obviously important that would be, because if someone gets into your password management software, they have all of your passwords. So anytime we would set this up for a client, or anytime a client would talk to us about this, we would obviously set up the multi-factor authentication with them or advise them how to do that. And that means that all of their passwords are stored inside their password management software with a very complex password that they can remember, or they can write down somewhere that is very, very safe, i.e., on a piece of paper in your wallet, etc. And then have a multi-factor code as well using an application on your mobile device. But it's something you should have for all of your line of business software. And if you haven't got it, speak to your providers, speak to your IT provider, Microsoft, Google, Duo, look on their sites, and they will point you in the direction that they all want you to have it as well. So they make it as easy as possible for you. And it isn't as intrusive as you might think. A lot of these things, once you set them up on your device, you can say, remember my device, because again, it is your device. For instance, with Microsoft 365 multi-factor authentication, once you've set the application up on your mobile phone or on your desktop, your Outlook, you're only prompted for the code when you try and log in from a new device. So again, making it not intrusive for the user and making it easy to use. Virtual private networks, we'll go on to next. So again, with a lot of people working from home, working outside of the office, potentially multiple offices now, using virtual private networks to connect your staff back to that central infrastructure. Obviously, when you're in your office, you maybe paid for a firewall device, an active firewall, a server, all of those kind of things, and you might have applications that are run in your office. And again, having a virtual private network means that all of those remote workers or home users connect back to your office and use the security that your office has got, that infrastructure that you've invested in over the last 5 or 10 years. That is not going to waste, and you're not having users working at home that are not connected to that network, that potentially have personal devices that aren't protected the same way as your office devices are. So again, really, really important that you can use a virtual private network and you can connect your staff from wherever they are. So as soon as they start working, they connect to your office network. They're using your office firewall, your office setup to secure them and secure your organizational data. Really, really important. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was security and phishing training. I think I said at the top, it was about 80% of attacks are socially engineered phishing attacks. It's so important that we're giving our staff training. It's something that we're very hot on here, obviously, in our organization, and we recommend to all of our clients, get that training done, because the software, the hardware, the services, all of these bits and pieces that you can do are completely pointless if someone can ring up your user and get their password or get their security code. They are the areas where we can't protect you as an organization, or someone like Sophos can't protect you, or Microsoft can't protect you if your users are allowing your data to be leaked. Sending out emails with passwords in it, so, doing those kind of things is just really, really important to not be doing that and not be sharing that information anywhere that's not secure. So looking at training, we partner with IT Governance. They're absolutely fantastic. They do a whole range of courses, and they do discounts for non-profits as well. They're really, really good in terms of what they can offer. They're online courses, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, something really easy for your users to log in, review the training, and for you to manage and see who's done the training. So there's a portal, a management portal for you as well, to make sure that your staff complete that training. And it gives you that confidence in your users. It gives your users confidence in your IT system, and it gives you that kind of checkbox for GDPR that you're doing as much as possible to make sure that your data can't be breached. So now I'm going to hand over to our guest speaker, Kyle Torres. Kyle works for Sophos, who we are a partner with, and does a lot for non-profits. I'm just going to set him up here to cue him over and send that live now. 2 seconds. Over to Kyle.
That's great. Thank you very much, Adam. Yeah, I just wanted to say, actually, Adam, I really like that last slide you mentioned about the the phishing. One of the things that we're really pushing at Sophos is the sort of weakest link in the chain, the human element. One of the things we say is that the weakest, the most vulnerable part of that IT infrastructure is what sits between the back of the chair and the front of the monitor. So I think that's really good, and I'd like to see more people putting out, especially to charities, the fact that end user training and education is so important. But yeah, thanks again, Adam, for having me. What I wanted to do today is we're not going to do a million different technical slides on the threat landscape. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about who Sophos is, just so you know what we do, why we do what we do, a little bit about what we're seeing today in the threat landscape and how that's shifting it for organizations, particularly charities. And the last thing I'll do is I'll leave you with some tips to kind of take away with you. So a little bit about Sophos as a business. We were actually founded in 1985, and our headquarters is just outside of Oxford in Abingdon in the UK. We've got around 3,700 employees, over 100 million individual users across around 150 countries. We use an adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem so that what we can do is, feed all the different threat intelligence from protecting your environment into itself to try to get faster response times to resolve issues for you. We are one of the world's largest and fastest growing managed detection and response providers. And we have global reach, like I said earlier, around 150 countries and over 60,000 partners across those. And Adam Enclick is one of the ones that we work with quite a bit. So he's got a lot of the good up-to-date security information. All right, so what I'll take a look at, what I want to show you next is just a bit about how we put that all together. So the strategy, we put that together. Everything's tied together with Sophos Central. That's our management console from Sophos Central. In the top tier, you can see that you can manage all those different types of security products. And at the bottom tier, what you see is that it's fed with intelligence from our Sophos labs. So I wanted to give a shout out to Sophos Labs because the work they do is phenomenal. We have labs all over the world, and Sophos Labs contribute to that global virus definition database. So all the different big security vendors out there, when we find a new piece of malware, we share that. We put that out there, and no matter what security you're using, Kaspersky contributes, Microsoft contributes, we contribute. It helps that global antivirus definition database. And I think Sophos Labs, the last I checked, it's somewhere in the range of 400,000 previously unseen malware samples per day. And that is all types of malware. All right, so we'll go ahead and go to the next slide to show you a bit of really what's been changing and how that's affecting the landscape. So one of the things I like to mention is that times have changed. This idea that we have a trusted network, a trusted perimeter, that is pretty much has been eroded the past 19 months. I mean, it's something that was changing the past few years. But if we look at the knock-on effect of having to work from home, having to shift to hybrid models, work models, we've probably seen about 5 years worth of cloud migration all crammed into 18 months. So this trusted perimeter, this trusted network, the idea that you can go into your physical office, and in this physical building, you have physical access controls like key cards or key codes, a front desk. You go into your physical office, you go to your desktop, which is sat behind a firewall, and you're safe and secure. Doesn't really exist anymore. It still does, but with hybrid models, with working from home, remote working, some of the people here might stay remote working. Some of you might go back into the office. Some of you might do, a little bit of a mix and be flexible. But the idea that we have this trusted network is just not there anymore. So we'll take a look at how that has actually changed, not only the attack landscape, but how charities have to do their business, how they conduct their business. So, we look at Sophos, we look at two different aspects as a corporate security organization. Obviously we look at the shift in attacks, and we look at how we need to advance our security and how the attackers are changing their methods. And had we more time, I could talk for another hour on the different ways that attackers are going after people. But what's really important is that there's a shift in the way that charities are doing their business. Attackers are going after the supply chain. The supply chain is becoming much more interconnected, much more cloud-based. We're having to migrate our apps and data into the cloud, and now we also have to contend with remote working environments. And what this has led to, we'll take a look at what this actually means in regards to the attacks themselves. If we look at ransomware, because this is probably one of the most high value types of attacks, in our 2020 ransomware survey, 51% of organizations were victims of ransomware attacks. So 51%, so around 1,000 of the organizations we interviewed said yes, we were attacked. 73%, so nearly three quarters of those resulted in their data being encrypted. So of those 1,000 organizations, around 700 of them lost data. Their data was encrypted. 26% of them paid the ransom, and the average total remediation cost when victims pay the ransom worked out to be around $1.4 million, or probably around just approximately around £1 million. And something in that total remediation cost, remember, you're not just, if you pay the ransom, you're gambling that you will actually get that data back. Because remember, these are the people that attacked you and held your data to ransom. So if you pay it, there's only a chance that you'll actually get it back. But not only that, but this is the total remediation cost. So the full retooling of the infrastructure, having to back up any lost data, all of that adds up. And you can see the attackers are getting more, I guess, brazen, you could say. The average ransom payouts are increasing every quarter, not every year, every quarter they are increasing. And we could probably even drill this down by month and see that as they get more successful, they're upping the ante. They're attacking more organizations, they're demanding larger ransoms. And then, so moving on from this, I just also want to take a look at cloud specifically. So I mentioned this idea that, hybrid is, we've got this hybrid cloud model. So some of the people here today, you might not have shifted to the cloud. Some of you might be on a hybrid model where some of your assets are in the cloud and some of it is sort of on premise. And some of you might have committed to that full, cloud migration. And just something to call out with this cloud computing is the idea of shared responsibility. The shared responsibility model, the cloud itself, it is, your cloud provider. It is Microsoft. It is Amazon's job to make sure that the cloud itself is secure. But the data within the cloud, your own data, it is your responsibility to make sure that data is secured. And that's called the shared responsibility model, something that they've been trying to kind of push out there. So even if you do have, cloud assets with Microsoft, it's important to see how are you protecting those within the cloud, because what we can see from these slides here is that the cloud is still a very, not vulnerable, but it's an attractive target for these attackers. Again, so this is the same amount of organizations, the same quantity. 70% had a public cloud security incident in the last year. 66% of those incidents were due to a security misconfiguration, because cloud is relatively new for a lot of us. 33% of incidents were the result of stolen cloud account credentials, and 96% of those we interviewed are concerned about their current cloud security. Everyone's moving to the cloud and saying that you have to secure the cloud just like you secured your previous setup, your previous environment. So that's what I wanted to talk about in regards to the threat landscape, how that's changing, what we're seeing from a corporate perspective. And I mentioned the last thing is I want to leave you guys with some resources, some information for best practices. Any questions that you have, we're here today, so we've got Q&A today. You've got, you're lucky to have Adam to call on, who's very knowledgeable in that, area of security. But at Sophos, one of the things we do is, we put out a lot of guidance and best practice information. And I just want to let everyone here know that you don't have to be a Sophos customer to go ahead and read through these. Now, some of these, so I wanted to call out our news.sophos.com website. A lot of these articles are, focused on remote working, but there's some really good general guidance in there as well. You don't have to have the Sophos products apart from we see that article that says facilitating remote working with Sophos XG Firewall. But to be completely honest, if you go in there, it will give you all the best practices about VPNs. But it's just some good general remote working. And just as a sneak preview, what I want to leave you with is our sort of top tips to secure remote working. And I don't want you to think that if you're in the office, you don't have to worry about this, because I think these are top tips to secure any type of working. Some of those things we see there: making it easy for users to get started, ensuring devices and systems are fully protected, making sure that you have your encryption enabled wherever possible, that you have a secure connection back to the office. This also goes with secure email, but also healthy practice for reading your emails and going onto the web, which is something that end user training and education plays a huge part in. Making sure that you've got your web filtering on. The amount of clients I've spoken with that have web filtering included in what they paid for, but they don't use it. make sure you've got that web filtering on if you have it. If you're using cloud storage, making sure that is secured as well. Managing removable storage and other peripherals on devices. So making sure that you know who's plugging USBs into what devices, and actually being able to block that if you need to. Having control of mobile devices, whether it's bring your own device and you just want to make sure, this person is accessing, important information about our charity on their phone. It is their phone, but can we just secure the charity data, the PII for the charity on that, which you can do. So making sure that your mobile devices are controlled if anyone's accessing personal information, making sure that people have a way to report security issues. Even if something looks a bit dodgy or a bit of fishy, excuse the pun there, making sure that they know who they can just take that to. And that sort of demystifies security quite a bit. If you can just say, hey, I've got this weird phishing email, and an IT security person can look at it and say either, hey, great, thanks for bringing this to me. It does look a bit suspicious, but we've checked it out and it's all clear. Thanks for letting us know. Or, wow, this was a really bad one. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention. And probably the last one, which is a bit of a strange one, is shadow IT. So if there's people here using, let's say, WhatsApp to discuss business, the idea of shadow IT is, yes, we've got WhatsApp that is this very secure messaging system, but it sits completely outside of what can be managed and visible to a security team. And when you're talking about your own charity's information and data, that's something that your IT team should be able, to know if something goes out and who's saying what. So this idea of shadow IT solutions. So those are just a few of the tips to secure working there. There's a lot more information found on news.sophos.com, but I just want to say I will be here for the Q&A. So if anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to put those into the chat, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end. But thanks a lot, Adam, for inviting me here today, and we'll see if we get any questions.
Great, thank you, Kyle.
Cool, thanks.
That was really, really informative. I really appreciate you taking the time, Kyle, out of your busy schedule, I'm sure, to give us that information. And some of it's, really, really important, and a lot of it is so relevant, especially being Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This couldn't come at a better time, really. So in summary, I think one of the key things is to make sure you are regularly reviewing, and cybersecurity can be daunting, especially for non-profits. You haven't got huge resources. There's not, you don't generally have your own in-house IT team or the time or the expertise to know about all this stuff. But there's a lot of things that need to be reviewed, and I've just put a few of them here. Things like antivirus, malware, and ransomware software. Obviously, that's a must. Looking at firewalls and VPNs for remote workers. Obviously, I mentioned password management software, multi-factor authentication, email filtering and protection as well, device encryption, training, awareness, education, and then looking at accreditations like Cyber Essentials and ISO 27001 that will really help you protect yourself. So there's a lot there, and it's a lot to consider and to think about, potentially, high value and high cost, even just to analyze it all and come up with what you should be doing. So obviously at Click we offer free consultations, and for all FSI members we offer a full and free best practice analysis, which includes cybersecurity recommendations. So again, there should be a link in the chat. If you want to go to that, you can book a consultation with us, and we can have a conversation with you, get some facts about what you've got, come up with some recommendations, and audit your systems to be able to provide you some clear, concise information on what's the priority, what you should be looking at next, what you should and shouldn't be doing. Get involved and do that. So we're going to do the Q&A now. I'm just going to have a quick look now and see what sort of questions we've got in the Q&A. Here is a couple here. So I'll just look here at some of the best ones. Do you need, let's publish this one here. Do you need encryption if your devices are password protected? Yes, encryption and password protection are two different things. Encryption does provide a form of protection, password protection, so you can have your encrypted device to have a password, a BitLocker PIN before your normal password. But the key difference with encryption is that it encrypts the device itself. So if someone was to remove the drive from the device, the data storage from the device, if it got lost or stolen, and they were to move that and to put that into another device, they would not be able to read your data. So it's really, really important that you have both encryption and password protection. They work differently and they do different things. If you just have password protection and not encryption, a device is taken out and put into another device, your data can be read and stolen. What is a TPM? Again, that goes on to a very similar vein along encryption. A TPM is a trusted platform module, and then that is used by your operating system and your encryption to tell the software that this is my hardware. I.e., again, if your device is lost or stolen and that device is taken apart and someone is looking to take the data, you know, the TPM is then used, and the device will say, the drive will say, no, this isn't my drive anymore, and we have to lock it down, and it'll stop it from working outside of that device. So it's a trusted platform module, and most devices nowadays will come with them. I think it's actually part of Windows 7 or Windows 11 now. You have to have that built in. There's a good question here, I think maybe for Kyle. When you talk about, sorry, let me just when you talk about cloud protection of data, sorry, not that one, sorry. Does Sophos provide training services?
Yes. So one of the things, one of the products that we do is an end user training, awareness and education product there. So it's something that, you know, if you're interested in some of that end user training, absolutely speak to Adam and he can set that up, you know, give you that training, give you reports on how your staff are doing, you know, catching, and we can do things like, you know, send out simulated phishing attacks, you know, that don't do any damage, but it's kind of embarrassing when you get caught out by one. And then feed all that into a report, so then Adam can say, hey, you know, we've tested everyone, you know, within your organization, and it turns out half of them are clicking on these dodgy links, so let's get them some training. So yeah, absolutely, that is one of the big things we do.
Brilliant. And there's another one here as well, actually, if you can, Carl. It says, what programs do you recommend for encryption?
Yeah, so really, I mean, what you'll actually find is that Windows and Macs have their own disk level encryption built into them. You know, for Windows, we call that BitLocker, and for Macs, we have FileVault. So Sophos has something that lets you manage those encryptions, but it does require, I believe, the pro version to do that. But if you're curious about if your device has the capability to be encrypted, so essentially using what's already there, but being able to manage it for your entire organization. You know, and if someone loses their password, having a secure way to recover it. Definitely talk to Adam about that, and they will be able to take a look and say, that's great, you're on the proper operating system, you've got the proper device, let's get that BitLocker enabled for you.
There's just one more for you, Carl here. Does Sophos stop CryptoLocker?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we have, and so one of our big products, if you've heard about Sophos, it's called InterceptX. It is our anti-ransomware. Our InterceptX was massively successful with completely stopping WannaCry. When that hit the NHS in 2017, you know, we had a 100% catch rate against WannaCry. All of our NHS clients were completely protected. Similarly, that year, when NotPetya hit, which was a different form of ransomware, we were also able to protect against that. CryptoLocker is one that we have seen out in the wild a lot, many times. What I will actually do is, I don't know if Adam, if you've got the ability to see, you know, kind of who asks these questions, but what I'll do for you, Adam, is I'll send you some of the details about, we've got news articles and white papers about how we tackle CryptoLocker. So that might be something that might be useful. So I'll send that over to Adam after.
Yeah, great, thank you. I've got one here. What is the best way to manage BYOD, bring your own device? I'd definitely say that there's a lot of yeah, that's obviously a key question at the moment. A lot of people are using bring your own device. It obviously depends on your infrastructure and how you're using your system, whether you're using Google Docs, Microsoft 365, a cloud system. So you have to take all those into consideration. It's really important that you're reviewing those bring your own devices, and whether your users are looking to allow you to put things like Sophos software on there, antivirus, encryption, Microsoft Intune potentially, those kind of software solutions. If they're not, making sure people are using through browsers, having policies and procedures in place. This is again one of the key questions, comes back to sort of the training side of things as well. But for your organization, having policies and procedures that say what people can and cannot do with bring your own device. If you have a bring your own device policy, you need to have that, you need to communicate that to your staff. And that's one of the key things, making sure those devices are up to date, making sure they're secure, making sure that people are connecting to your systems in a secure and safe way using those devices if you're allowing that within your organization. But I would say if you don't know, don't let people bring their own devices. That's the key. Is if you're not sure, ask the experts first, find out what you should be doing, then get the policy in place and see if it's possible and if you think it can be done securely, depending on the data you have and how you're using that data. Diana has asked, if I'm not mistaken, Windows 11 will have a TPM 2.0 as a mandatory requirement. Yes, Diana, I believe that's correct. It does you can check on your existing hardware to see if your existing hardware is Windows 11 compatible, which will mean does it have a TPM 2.0, and also when you're buying hardware, obviously the manufacturers now, TPM 2.0 has been quite a common thing over the last year or two when you're buying hardware especially. So most hardware should have that. That's relatively new. But again, there is a piece of software you can download from the Microsoft website that will check if your device is compatible with Windows 11. In terms of upgrading to Windows 11 now, we would say speak to your IT provider, speak to whoever deals with your IT, whether that is the time to do it is now. We would tell our clients to wait and make sure that all of their devices are compatible so as not to confuse any user. So all the users are hopefully on the same platform again. Obviously, hopefully all of your users are on Windows 10 at the moment, or again the same version of Mac OS X. And trying to keep that uniform makes it a lot easier for people. And upgrading too soon as well can leave gaps in policy in terms of if you are using Microsoft Intune, making sure that it's got the Windows 11 policies on there. If you are using software, things like that. So it's definitely important that you consult with your IT professional and make sure that you can do that. But we would probably say hold off if you're not sure until it can be confirmed that everything can do that. Just having a look here. I just missed 15 minutes due to dodgy internet at home. Will I be able to watch this back later? Is it recorded? Yes, Emma, it is recorded. It will be published on our website. We'll be sending them out on our email newsletters as well, and it'll be on our YouTube page. So within sort of a couple of hours of this finishing, our colleagues will send those out, and they should be live for you to rewatch. Just trying to think if that's all of them. What is the best method of identifying shadow IT? Yeah, that's a very good question. I guess that's down to communication. So that's down to speaking to your staff, finding out how they're communicating if you don't know already. So like Kyle said about looking at, are they using WhatsApp to communicate? Are they using software, Slack outside of the organization? It's definitely something you should be looking at, speaking to the users. Go on, Kyle.
Just yeah, another note. I mean, there's so many different things that could potentially fall under that category. Even things like Kahoot and SurveyMonkey. I mean, we've used Kahoot for our virtual happy hours to do quizzes. But if you think about it, if you're running a company quiz through Kahoot, so if those of you who don't know, Kahoot lets you make sort of custom quizzes, upload quizzes. People can either go in through a web browser or put the app on their phone. And then dial into your quiz and you can have a fun virtual quiz. But one of the things with that is, if you're doing, say, a company knowledge quiz, you are now taking all this information about your charity, running it through Kahoot. And that's not an actual managed and controlled secured app. Now, there is a way to bring that in to monitor and control. And that's the first thing is identifying it as an app that is being used by your organization, classifying and controlling it. But it's when people use these without our knowledge that they become shadow IT. So messengers, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, sharing things through iCloud, putting documents through iCloud rather than an official, managed or secured storage area. So lots of different ways of identifying shadow IT. The number one way that Adam mentioned, communication, finding out what your employees, what your staff are using, how they're using it, how they're using to communicate, and how you can bring that into your environment.
Amazing, thanks, Carl. Yeah, really, really important, and that's one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is those applications that people are using. At times we find out that someone's using a device or using an application outside of the organization. We're like, where did that come from? And as an IT company, it can be scary sometimes that, okay, someone's sharing data through iCloud. And you're like, wait a second, we've set up a SharePoint site for you, or we've set up a Dropbox, whatever it might be. We made sure it's secure, and then you're using something outside of that. So really important. A couple of other questions here from Trevor. Is it safe to offer guest Wi-Fi? Yes, again, it depends how you do that. So again, speaking to your IT professional, personally, we would do it. We would set up a separate network for that guest Wi-Fi. So it doesn't have to be a separate internet connection, but a separate LAN or a separate guest area, so that that guest Wi-Fi cannot communicate with your organizational or business network.
That's what we do at Sophos as well, Adam. Just just to add on to that, absolutely, I think a secure guest Wi-Fi network is a really good idea.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you. And does Click offer Cyber Essentials? We don't offer Cyber Essentials directly. We offer Cyber Essentials assessments, and we will then run that through with IT governance. So we do the pre-assessment, so we can assess what you've currently got in place as an organization and whether that will meet the Cyber Essentials guidelines. And if it does or doesn't, and then provide you with the list of recommendations to bring it up to Cyber Essentials level to make sure that you can then pass, and then we can run it through with IT governance to get you that Cyber Essentials accreditation. If there's something you're interested in, definitely get in contact and book a free consultation. I think we're sort of running out of time now, so I'm going to just move through if we can. But any other questions that you've got, again, please do get in contact. You can contact us through our website or through any of our social channels, and book a free consultation as well in the links. So yeah, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to attend the webinar. It's been really good. Hopefully you found it informative. Next up, we have Emily Barnico, and she's doing with Making Your Mark Online, talking about websites, social media, and how your charity can use those to the best of their ability. And she'll be on at 1:30. Thank you very much.